Today on Coffee Talk, in this part two clip, we are speaking with Karen Conti, lawyer and author of the book Killing Time with John Wayne Gacy. We ask her what it was like to be in a room with the most infamous serial killer and did he act alone on these crimes? You are meeting him face to face finally. Can you tell my viewers just a glimpse of that first meeting with
Well,
John Gacy?
it's you have this thought in your head that he's going to be bigger than life. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and he was the boogeyman. He was the face of evil, and I knew his face. I knew his face from the books and the movies and everything else. And I had read up on him before I went there. And you just expect something bigger than it is, and you expect there's going to be some tell of evil. What that is, you don't know, but you see him. He's 5'9". He's got a paunch. He's very pale, which is a very common thing for prisoners. It's like a pallor. And there was nothing intimidating about him. There was nothing evil about him. There was nothing that would give you any indication that he was anything other than your favorite uncle or the guy who drives the bus every morning you say hello to. He was intelligent and glib and friendly. So, this is how he got away with it, because if he did look and act evil or psychotic or strange, he probably couldn't have, one, persuaded all these men and boys to come with him wherever he took them. And two, when the police confronted him over and over again about what happened to that boy who we were just last seen with, he wouldn't have gotten away with it. So, it's that chilling part is that you wonder to yourself, who else do I know who's capable of that stuff that I'm sitting next to at work? Or,
Yeah.
because there's just no sign and there's no ability to tell.
But that's kind of scary. You don't know who
Because
you
he
talk.
wasn't scary. He
Yeah.
was not scary. And people ask me, why weren't you afraid of him? First of all, I wasn't his type, right? But I also knew that he was very measured and compartmentalized. He, like the Gilgo Beach guy. I mean, here, you live this life. You're
Yeah.
an architect, you're construction work, you got a wife and kids, you go to church on Sundays, you volunteer and you do all these things, and then you're going out and you're doing these vicious,
He was on
horrible, violent.
YouTube. He had a
Yeah.
he did a YouTube interview to Rex Heuermann, whatever you say his name. That was crazy,
Yeah.
his whole thing. He's out and about, you
Very
know.
similar, those two. If your listeners and viewers want to follow his story, which is probably going to expand, would be my guess. Very similar to Gacy, almost eerily so.
Gacy hired an unsuspecting employee, David Cram, to trench for piping and instructed him to break ground only in the areas he had marked.
You would lay out the trench. All right, this is where you dig, this is where you dig. Don't vary from the path.
Even talk about there was maybe he had help, maybe with the bodies, and there's maybe some other people helping him.
So that's one of the things that I'd like to talk about a little bit, because
Yeah.
Gacy, when he was arrested, there were two young men living with him, and I think at least one of them was having sex with him. Gacy was plying them with alcohol and drugs. The kids were working for him, and they testified at trial that they were the ones who dug the trenches in his crawl space. So the question is, it defies logic to me that those kids did not know why those trenches were being dug. And Gacy, I can't imagine him carrying dead weight down there and burying those bodies. I just can't imagine that he was capable of that. And there are other things that matter here, and that is that there was at least one victim who escaped after being tortured and raped by Gacy, who said that there was more than one person perpetrating the crimes in his house. So there's no question that people like Gacy will groom young men. They will entice them. They will take kids who maybe didn't have a great background, who don't have like a father figure or the like, and they're giving them money, and they're giving them a car, and they're giving them drugs, and they're giving them, some self-esteem, and then they get them into these crimes, and then the kids know that they're caught because now they're committing the crimes. And I think the prosecutor just looked at the case and said, I want to just tag them all with Gacy and be done with it. And I think that we missed that there are two young men who were also involved in those crimes.
And where are those two young men now?
One committed suicide, and one is still in the suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Were you ever curious? You ever try to find out where the one surviving one that's in Chicago, what his life is like, or what he's doing now?
Yeah, I Google him once in a while. And actually, when I was hired by Gacy, that was one of the first things I did. I found his phone number and I called him because I wanted to see if he would help us in any way about anything. And I got a call back literally within about a minute from one of the highest profile lawyers in Illinois, who was the former prosecutor in Cook County, which is where Chicago is. And he said, don't ever call him again. Take him off your list. If you call him again, I'm going to get an order of protection or some words to that effect. So the kid was part of a political family that was very well protected throughout this process and continued to be well protected even 15 years, 14 years after Gacy was arrested.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very Jack the Ripper-ish, because they say in Jack the Ripper could have been somebody from the royal family, could have been Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There are a lot of conspiracy theories. And I love conspiracy theories. I don't
Yeah,
always
yeah.
believe them, but a lot of people think Gacy was protected because over and over again, I mean, the one time he was arrested, brought charges of rape and all of that, dropped the charges. Why did they drop the charges? Kids go into his house to apply for a job. Last seen at Gacy's house, knock on the door. The police ask, no, there must have been a runaway. I never saw the kid. Over and over again. He had prior convictions in Iowa prior to his crime spree for doing the same thing. And he got out of jail within 2 years and then came to Chicago and started his spree. Again, we didn't have that integrated database that would have given the police the alert. He would have probably had to register as a sex offender today and been on everyone's radar. But, no one connected the dots for all of those years and all of those murders.
Nobody. Well, to remind the viewers, and because people probably forget, John Wayne Gacy was very active in the political world. Like, you see pictures of him with Carter's wife, just everybody,
Yeah,
whoever, and
right.
so it kind of now with you telling me that story about the kids family connected in the political world, and now it seems to make sense.
It was a different time then. I mean, being a homosexual back in the 70s was not something that
No.
people came out and told people. And I am quite sure there were political people and important people in the business community who may have been homosexual, married with kids, and maybe there was like some, not to say that if you're homosexual, you're a pedophile. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is there might have been some protection that they gave each other, knowing that their proclivities. And, Gacy supposedly, which I never saw it myself, had a list of people, important people who he had dirt on. And that wouldn't surprise me because Gacy, like a lot of narcissists and antisocial people, everyone's a pawn. Everyone's a pawn in their life. So there's no real connection. So what they do is they get information and they get ammunition from people, and then they can use it to their benefit. So my guess is that was true, that Gacy had political friends who he knew things about that they didn't want to have publicized, and that Gacy kept that, and he used that to protect himself.
Kind of like a Jeffrey Epstein, maybe, huh? Would you say?
Exactly like Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Do you think Jeffrey Epstein, just your opinion, and do you think he was murdered, or do you think he killed himself in jail?
I think he was murdered.
Yeah,
I don't know how it happened, but the things that aligned for him to do whatever happened to him. I mean, the guards were he was supposed to have a cellmate. That went out the window. Both of the guards were sleeping or shopping on eBay or whatever they were doing. I mean, there were so many things that happened that should never have happened. And here he was, a high profile inmate who had issues about suicide and were, everyone was told we got to watch him and put him on suicide watch. On the other hand, who is powerful enough to come into a federal prison and have this happen?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't know that we'll ever know, but that's a mystery that I would love to get the answer to.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out Killing Time with John Wayne Gacy. You can order the book right now. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell to be notified for any new episodes coming your way, and drop us a comment down below. We always love to hear from you. If you want to see this episode unedited, join the Members Only Club right here on YouTube. Until then, who loves you, baby? We do.